our little horses.
Yeah.
We'd have horses, we'd have lions.
I don't know, it's something bad.
Cattle, or do you?
My dad had horses. He used to run 80 head of horses up the west side. And I was just practically raised on them. From the time I could walk, I was riding horses. And I did a lot of rodeoing. And both my boys have carried on with it. Raymond, he's not anymore, but Grant's still going. But we did a lot of rodeoing together. Grant and I won the team open in 1981 for BC and Canada. So it was pretty good. He was pretty young at that time. So.
What
yeah.
else did you do in rodeo?
Well, I rode saddle broncs for a while and tried calf roping, and I did try bulldogging, but and I did try bull riding for a while too, but I gave all that up. It was too hard on the body.
And your grandkids, some of them are.
Yeah, the girls are doing really well right now. Morgan has won the Canadian last year, and she's leading to win it again this year. And Fallon, she's leading in all her events in like, what do you call it? Junior, is it? Yeah, Little Britches, yeah. And she's doing really well right now.
Cool.
Oh, I was a logger. I did mostly driving truck hauling logs. Did a lot of falling, and I run everything, like built roads and stuff like that. That's all I did all my life, was work in the bush. I did work here, and I worked up north in Cornell for years. Then I came back here and hauled logs here again. But I started hauling logs when I was 16 years old for Hans Peterson. And I was hauling logs off of the west side off Bear Creek. So it was quite a deal in those days. Quit hauling logs and started building vintage cars, and that's still what I'm doing.
And do you do that as a hobby, or do you?
Yeah, that's a hobby. Yeah.
So growing up in Westbank, back in the 50s and 60s, how was your house? Like, did you have running water? Did you have vehicles, different stuff like that?
No, we never had any running water, and we didn't have any electricity. So we had to pack water from the well every morning before we left for school. And we had a vehicle, but it would just barely make it back and forth to Westbank even, it was pretty bad. But yeah, we rode horses more than anything. That was, get anywhere we usually saddle a horse. We used to actually ride our horses to school. The Pedersen girls just lived up the hill here, and they used to ride with us. And at the George Pringle High School, they put a place to tie your horses. And we used to take our horses and tether them in the orchard. And so we'd ride to school when the weather was good, and yeah, that was kind of neat. Yeah, and but there was no houses up on the top up here. There was only 2-3 houses, up. What do you call this up here?
Okanagan Highway, kind of.
Yeah, but Rose Valley and through there.
Okay.
There was only 2 houses that I know of in those days, and there was an old road that went back, and that's how we used to ride our horses through and come into Westbank to go to school. And it was, my dad had an old 29 Model A Ford that I used to drive around, and of course they didn't have their own driver's license, but it was kind of fun. Well, at the time we were actually kicked off, I really didn't know a whole bunch about it, but My half-brother Johnny, he was still living on the reserve at that time with my aunt. So we used to come and live with my aunt there because my mother was in the hospital a lot, and we'd stay with Charlotte, and she looked after us for quite some time. But it was different when you went to school, and you didn't want to ever tell anybody that you were Native because it didn't go very good. And that's why I was saying before, like Lenny Wilson and some of those kids, I used to stick up for them in school because they'd get such a bad time. And that's why those kids, and that's one of the reasons my mother did not want to teach us the language. She didn't want us to have an accent and run into problems where, wherever we went, eh? And that was the big trouble in those days. It's a little better now, I think. Well, quite a bit better, but there's still lots to be done, I think.